So PineBridge Investments has a strategy of acquiring minority stakes in listed and also private companies. But when it comes to growing these assets, how to negotiate acquisitions with the majority investors?
Well, before we invest, we do long due diligence in private equity, because what is important is that we understand the strategy of the company and of the development together with our partner, which is usually an entrepreneur who created the company. So we spend a lot of time discussing the plans and how we're going to execute them.
So what are the growth opportunities for companies in the region, in Central and Eastern Europe? Are there more regional opportunities or global opportunities?
At the end of last century, sounds far away, but that's when we started 15 years ago, or at the beginning of the decade, a lot of things were about country consolidation. Local markets was very fragmented, and successful companies were able to acquire some of their smaller competitors to create country market leaders. As the market has developed in the last almost 6-7 years, we see more and more regional expansion, regional consolidation. And the latest move, which is very interesting, and we have few companies like this in our portfolio, are absolute market leader in their country, trying to become dominant or with a very strong position in the region, and in some cases the capability even to be a winner in the European sector or even on a world level.
But I know that sometimes investments are not going the right way. Sometimes you have regulation blocking the regulatory framework, opposing transactions. For example, the one you were carrying out in Romania, that was a banking asset, but the transaction got blocked. Do you want to say something about it?
Well, I mean, we operate in a more and more regulated work, so it's part of our knowledge and expertise. I mean, the first one is anti-monopoly concentration and EU or local countries clearance, which we get. We have to have all the time. We have some experience where, in some cases, it proved difficult. And of course, in the cross-border, in addition to that, telecom is regulated. Clearly, financial sector are regulated, and it is very important that we spend a lot of time to understand how are the regulations, how they are applied in the countries, which hopefully most of the time reflect EU regulation, and whether we'll be able to operate. But you're right, in some cases, including most recently in the financial sector, after the crisis, we bumped into an issue of banking regulator wanting to have a very deep pocket investor and deem private equity not to be unconditionally for unlimited amount behind a bank if something would happen. So we were blocked in this particular case.
And other than the financial services sectors, where do you see opportunities for the last quarter of this year and next year?
Well, there is a lot of activity in healthcare. We have, for example, companies in home care and elderly care services, very active, which probably will enter into M&A operation to enter into the UK market. We have companies into the retail segment at large, including e-commerce and delivery, which are growing at very high speed through operating and creating subsidiaries and alliances in the rest of Central Europe, but also Western Europe, becoming a leader in the UK and pretty soon in France as well. So these are activities in retail, in healthcare, which are growing fast and will generate a lot of M&A and cross-border operations.
Thank you so much, Pierre Mellinger of PineBridge Investments. Thanks.
My pleasure.